Okay, so what I want to say first is that we can do this as a type of conversation, and that's Jen. She's also a former student of mine. Look at me, bringing my people back. And a kind of a conversation. So if you have any questions, you can just raise your hand anytime that you feel like. And also, I need to do this disclaimer beforehand. I'm not picking on any discipline, on any breed, or on anything. The photos that I have there, some of them I found like on the internet. Some of them are like Adobe photo, and some of them are not gonna look, wonderful. But again, I'm not here. I'm not a horseback riding. I'm not a coach. I'm not. I just from a teacher position in the sense of like understanding how horses work and how our bodies work. Okay, like I said, I'm not in any way, shape, or form. Jen, actually, my former tutor gave me lessons before. I fell in one of her lessons. That horse is no longer with us. A horse can't just dump me. And then, yeah, because I'm too old for that anymore. So anyway, so that's what I want you guys, to keep in mind. I'm not picking on anybody. There's going to be things that we're going to pick on some photos, but I'm not here to pick on any discipline, on any breed, or anything like this. Okay, but I want you guys to understand how writing is so complex. Okay, it's so complex, and like how a lot of things that we ask our horses to do. First of all, the fact that they let us on their back, because if it was me, I wouldn't. I would be like, no. I would be a bucking horse, you know what I mean, from like rodeos. The fact that they do that and allow us, and the fact that they try, right? The fact that they try, even though we're asking things that to them may be a little bit not, may not be translating well in their heads, right? And also, another thing too is that I am a firm believer that when horses, some horses are just malicious. Okay, this horse that dumped me and then broke my body. He not that time that I was in lesson, another time. Okay, and then you know what I did? I borrowed from my retirement and said I shall pay a good money for a good horse that will not dump me ever again. And let me tell you, I got Zach. Zach, I don't think I have photos of him here. Zach is fat, okay, and he's a Percheron mix, but he's very athletic. But he is green-ish. He's not the most, like he's not the most talented individual. However, what Zach has never done? He has not even offered to dump me, okay? Because I bought him for safety, and that's what he is. He's very safe. Um, but what was I saying? So to think that, but I'm a firm believer that a lot of misbehavior comes from pain. Okay, so comes from pain. So if the horse is hurt and you request something that is going to actually cause them a little bit more pain, they're going to be like, no. But they give us signs for that, and a lot of times we think that they're just, being, I don't know, sassy or not wanting to do, and we a lot of times um, take measures that are unfair to the horse, and we kick and we like yank more on the rein, and we try, when sometimes it's actually a pain that maybe we were the ones that even created that on the horse. So I think that my goal for the end of here today is for you guys to understand how complex it is, and also that we need to be very cognizant of the way that we ask, what we're asking. Are our horses actually capable of, have they been trained to do this, right? Are they actually capable? And a lot of, because I also research horse related injuries to humans, right? And a lot of things that, so like to promote like a safer sport. But a lot of things too, we ask, the reason why it becomes unsafe is because we ask horses things that they don't know how to do, so they're trying to figure out. And if we're not training them at the time, so say the horse is a little bit more green, that's when a lot of people get in a pickle, and horses just in the heat of it all end up hurting us, right? So this graph here, this photo just shows, okay, so for any movement, so what is writing? And you guys can read this, but I'm going to say this. It is, we come up with a thought. The thought is in our brain. It needs to transfer, okay? That thought transfer to our bodies, okay, via motor neurons, to our hands, to our legs, to our stomach, to anything, okay, to ask the horse to do something. But we ask them where this thought then transfers to our body, to the horse, goes to the horse's bit, to their back, to their barrels, right? So this is what happened. And then in turn, they have to get whatever it is that you did with your hand to his bit and translate that into, go back to his brain. So you see the sensation that he felt here needs to travel neurons, go to his brain and say, I think they requested this, and then go back to their body. So you see how crazy this is? Like the amount of like impulse that is traveling back and forth and all this, and how for us to think how horses can actually perform very delicate maneuvers. Okay, so you can think how difficult that can be, right? And then for the horse to actually transfer that into the movement, it goes back to the motor neuron of the horse, and then he does whatever it is maneuver that he thinks that you're asking. Sometimes we're asking wrong, and he's trying to translate that, right? And then so there is a lot of things. There is a lot of nerve impulses, and there's a lot of things that things can go wrong, right? So I think that that's what we need to focus on and be a little bit more forgiving, right? Okay, so let's lay the foundation. So first of all, we come in all shapes and sizes, right? So we come in all shapes and sizes. So but we are trying to ride, right? We're all trying to ride. So here we see, so these guys here, they probably all weigh similarly, right? But they're all not very tall. They're very not tall at all. Okay, and then we have this guy here who is from England, and if you guys know him, right? He is correct, and he is, I don't know, 12 foot tall. He's so tall. But here, so how? Look at this horse. This horse is probably 17.3. Okay, but this is like, and how is it that different sizes, and then my favorite of them all, okay, like this is like, she is not tall, she's short, she's also a little bit heavier than, like jockeys, for example, and but also, where's the helmet? Every time I saw her ride, I was just like, oh my gosh, put a helmet on the woman. But I guess she also borrowed from her retirement to get the best ponies, right, in the world, to not dump her. But like this is, I guess, to be like, I don't know, 95 and still be riding, right? So that's go.com, right? So we all come from different shapes and sizes, and then add posture, right? So our posture is determined by actually a lot of things. If we're tired, we're generally like this, right? We're tired. At the end of the day, we're like, oh my gosh, like this. So it is determined by the proportions of the body. So some people, I have like a abnormally short torso and abnormally long legs. Okay, so that's who I am. It is what it is at this point. So my posture is only going to be like some in one way, right? Natural asymmetry. So we're all asymmetric, right? We're all asymmetric. Nobody has the exact same symmetry. Nobody's strong on both sides the exact same, right? And then mental disposition. Mental disposition as in, are we angry? When we're angry, right? We hold ourselves like this. Or are we tired? We're like this. Oh my gosh. Are we super happy and spry? So this all changes our posture. And if we're sitting on a horse, you guys can think how this will actually change also. So to the foundation, okay? So although we are asymmetric, okay, so we're not symmetrical, it is still possible to have balance, even though we're not symmetrical, right? So we can still be balanced and create some sort of balance to translate to the horse, right? And also, unlike other mammals, we can fine tune very slight, movements with our hands and even with our feet, right? If you lack hands, and even with a lot of parts of our body, we can actually fine tune it in a way that nobody else can do, right? So to make riding a little better, right? So the rider, okay, so we have the capacity with our hands to grasp really strong or to let go, okay? We can sit up, we can slouch, And the successful riding is going to depend on a lot of things, right? The ability to give, to take, grip with your thigh, press with your heel, brace the back, brace your abdomen, like your core, right? And the ability to solve problems. In this photo here, what can you guys tell me about this photo? So tight, so bracy. I mean, come on. What else? What else can we tell about this photo? Her heels are so not under her hip. Go ahead. It is a female. You're going to learn that the majority of people are actually females, son. That's my son. What else can we say? Her head is like this. How is the horse? How is the horse doing? So she is like, obviously the horse is bent on the neck, right? Everybody is thinking like we have to, like, when the horse gives and he's bending. And I think that she's creating like a false idea of engagement. And what's that? He is very much in the forehand. He has a hollow back, okay? His hind feet are not actually, this is a tall enough horse that his hind feet should actually reach all the way to his front if he was engaged. You can see how bracy he is with his neck. His ear is like, I'm not liking this right now. And again, this is a split second, right? I'm not saying that this is how she rides. I don't know this person. I'm not saying any of this. I'm saying that in this particular, and also I think she's holding the rein as if she was driving the horse, which I don't know if something happened to do this, because obviously she's dressed for somebody that actually knows how to, hold the reins. But what is the importance of the unridden horse? Okay, because like I said, we are on top of these animals, right? The unridden horse, they can do all sorts of things. Okay, they can do all sorts of things, and this is a majestic animal right there. Okay, but for the unridden horse to move, he every movement starts in the hind legs. Okay, it starts in the hind legs. Okay, it travels to the long muscles of the back. Okay, and then as it's traveling, it actually flexes the vertebrae. Okay, so flexes all the vertebrae. The vertebrae have like spinous processes on top, and then they gather together to actually go back to the front leg. There's a sling, what we call a sling is called the serratus ventralis muscle, and this little area here grabs the horse's forelegs and tosses the horse to the next stride. Okay, this is how movement works. Okay, so it's what we call the trampoline effect. So it starts, oops, come back, it starts here, travels to the front, goes to this sling, okay, grabs the front legs of the horse, launches him to the next one. This is all the horses need to do, the unridden horse, okay? So this is the trampoline effect that I was talking about. It has this serrated, that's why it's called serratus ventralis, because it's like, it looks like it's serrated, and it grabs the ribs, okay, and the rib cage. There's part of like the pectoral muscles are also part of this sling. The pectoral muscles are very important when horses are like landing. Okay, when you land, it's what cushions the landing of the horse is the pectoral muscles. Then we have the trapezius muscle here on the neck, and and also I want you guys to pay attention to this, that there is a lot of these important structures that lay on the, like right where the saddle goes, pretty much. Okay, so the saddle should go from here and back. So there's a lot, but like here we have the girth going on here. So there's a lot of important structures on the shoulder of the horse that are very important for movement. Okay. Okay, let's keep on building. Okay, so now we're going to add the rider. Look at this. Oh my gosh. First of all, what can we say about this? Clearly was for a photo op, right? What? Where's the helmet? So, horse is so skinny. Horse is skinny. What else? Is the horse enjoying life? Hating life. Okay. What else can we say about this horse? It's an Arabian, obviously. Okay. Very skinny. I mean, things are just the way that he's gripping. He's like doing like, I mean, it's terrible, right? But this is what we're asking our horses. So now we have somebody else on top. plus equipment, right? So we're adding that because remember I mentioned, uh, where is Angel? Is Angel here? Angel, we need another projector for this one also because this is the light is not good. You know what I mean? The light bulb anymore. But anyway, so these are photos of like different saddles and how saddles are constructed, right? And the trees of the saddles, it can be narrow, it can be wide. And this is a photo of how a saddle sits on a horse, but it's like the anatomy of the horse, right? So this equipment that is going to sit on the back of the horse, and hopefully, generally speaking, the great majority of riding styles, we put the saddle in a way that is on the thoracic part of the vertebrae, okay? Which the thoracic part of the thoracic vertebrae is connected to ribs, and the ribs go all the way to the sternum, making it like a cage and an encasement that makes it more sturdy, okay? Now, saddle seats, they ride a little bit more back, more towards the loin of the horse, and that can cause a lot of pain also on the loins of those horses, but it's not as protected because the loin area of a horse has a lot of muscles, but it's not connected to bone, to anything. We just have the lumbar vertebrae there. But this equipment is going to actually be stimulating a lot of nerves, is going to be sitting on areas in that area that I mentioned that has that trampoline, okay? And it can stimulate, the nerves are going to stimulate the muscles, but impinged nerves. Anybody here has had like impinged nerves? Is it super comfortable? No, it hurts, okay? It hurts, and also you cannot move as well as when you don't have an impinged nerve, right? So damaged impinged nerves can lead to damaged muscles, right? And like this is another photo showing how many forces actually converge on the shoulder of the horse, and that's one of the reasons why tack saddles need to be well fitted, okay, to the horse that we. But I understand also that some people have like saddles are very expensive, and then if you're riding 12 horses a day, if you're training, right, it's hard to have like one saddle per horse that fits perfectly. So a lot of people just hope, I guess, have horses of the same body type that they do, but still it's not necessarily, it's not super perfect. But it is, but we can get away with a lot of things, but I want you guys to be cognizant that how your saddle fitting can actually be a problem to a good riding, okay? Because and I'm not a saddle fitter, there's all sorts of things that go into saddle fitting. But the ridden horse, right? The unridden horse, they can do whatever they want, and just that little, toss into the next stride is perfect for them. They don't need anything else, okay? But the ridden horse needs help. And that's where this idea comes. That's what we call the bow and the string. Has anybody heard of the bow and string? Nobody has heard the bow and string. The bow and string, how do bows actually work? The bow and string, the bow and string is going to launch what? An arrow, right? So, but the bow is what? Is wood or whatever it is, right? So the bow is wood. So it's like a structure that is hard, and then the string is what? Generally flimsy, right? But when we put those together in traction with each other, when the string is actually taut, right, with the bow, everything is tight and in traction, then the arrow can go, correct? Correct. And this is how we compare a horse. We have to develop this bow and string in that the vertebral column is the bow, okay, it's the rigid part, okay, and the abdominal muscles are the string, okay, and then it can carry a rider on top, okay, and then it can carry a rider. But if the string is flimsy, okay, what happens to the bow? The bow gives, right? So the bow gives, and the horse does this. Think about like the string is flimsy, it's not taut, so then it does this if somebody else sits on top of here, right? But if they are in traction with each other, they can carry a rider. But the horse, the normal unridden horse or the horse that just got taught, do you think that they know this? They don't know this. Okay, as a matter of fact, as soon as you put something on their back, their instinct is to do what? To hollow their backs, right? is to hold their back because they're like, well, I don't even know what this is going on. And then when we start sitting on these horses, they have to learn to carry us, okay? And that is not the easiest feat for horses or for riders to do, okay? But it is imperative that we teach this trick to the horses so they can learn to carry us, and it's not something that is forced, and it's not something that is artificial. Like, remember that chestnut horse that is like it's artificial because you're like, oh, the horse is bent. We just think it's collection means bent in the neck. It isn't, okay? Collection is the bow and string effect. Everything is actually in traction with each other. It takes a lot of effort for the horses to actually continuously do it. They have to have like a break here and there, okay? But it creates, so the, what is engagement and collection, right? So we have muscles here, plus we have the vertebral column here, and then we have the abdominal muscle. There's abdominal muscles here. We need to remember that in the lumbar region, so the only thing that connects the front of the horse to the back of the horse is those 6 lumbar vertebrae. Okay, that's it. That's the only thing that connects. And remember, I mentioned that in the thoracic area, which is where the saddle should go, it's actually more rigid, okay, and attached to the sternum. So it's a little bit more, it has more structure, right? But this guy here, the only thing that protects the connects is those 6 vertebrae and the muscles here. And remember, it's still the same in that movement starts in the hind legs of the horse, and then it gets there's like the gluteal medius. The gluteal medius has a tongue that connects to the longissimus muscle. Okay, and the longissimus muscle starts here and goes all the way to the pole of the horse, and that is still the same as the unridden horse, except the unridden horse doesn't have to engage their abdominal muscles to go and do whatever it is that they want to do. The ridden horse should, okay? They have to. Okay. So this is me. I hope it's not on the volume because it's going to be super screamy because it was windy that day. And this is my mare. Okay, so let me tell you a story about this mare. This mare is a reiner. She's 18 years old, so she is retired. Because why? Because she is semi-unsound, right? So all she does now is make me happy. I look at her and I smile. I've had her since she was 2. And she's blind of the right eye. She's very blind of the right eye. So super blind. She was born blind. So what I'm going to see, so how do we teach horses to actually use their abdominal muscles, right? So what I'm going to show here in this video, if I can play it, I'm going to actually go to her belly and I'm going to, stimulate her belly with my fingertips, and then you're going to see that she will tuck her belly in, lift her back, and naturally lower her head, okay? So when you tuck your belly in, the horse when the horse tucks his belly in, he lifts his back, rounding it, and then naturally the head goes down, okay? Now this is a quarter horse, right? So her neck insertion is already lower than other breeds, okay? So it's not, so she's already built with her head semi down, so there's only so much down that the head can go, okay? Let me see how I'm on the other side of the horse, but all I'm doing is actually stimulating her abdomen. Sorry. I don't have the computer here. On the other side so you can see the full effect. She's blind on that side, so she's just like, what the heck is going on? Okay? Did you guys see that? You want to play again or no? Let's play again, if I can. How do I play it? No, I guess I can't. It is what it is at this point. Okay, so I went here and I tickled her belly. Okay, I actually didn't just tickle, I actually like pricked her belly a little bit like this, okay? And then she raised her back, lowered her neck. I am okay. These were the videos in case that video didn't play. And this is again the muscles, and these are just the muscles that are involved, right? Involved in this thing that I just mentioned, okay? In this bow and string effect and how to collect the horse. So we have the longissimus, we have the trapezius, and then we have here these guys here. There's 2 very important muscles here called the omotransversalis and the brachiocephalicus, in that when the horse lowers his head, okay, with the head still, when these muscles here contract, they bring the front leg forward, okay? So when the horse has his, and this is like the head doesn't have to be lowered. Anytime that this muscle here contracts, If the legs are standing still, the head goes down. If the head is standing still, the legs come forward. Now, I need you guys to think about this, because if this horse is bracing, has his head super high, if his head is here, when he contracts this muscle, how far can the front legs go? Like very little, right? So you guys need to think about this too. And then also, as we're collecting these horses, by making them tuck in their abdominal muscles, it also creates a lot more space under their belly so their hind legs can move forward. Okay, so if you think like a flabby belly, a horse that's not collecting at all, or is even like doing this with his back, you can see how his hind legs are going to be choppy. Okay, now not every horse is going to be like that. Some horses are so good that they will try, even though they're like this, they will try to reach down. It's because they have a good mind, right? But these are the structures that we have. And I want you guys to just see how this horse is. So you can see like how fluid his movement is, right? So he's a big animal, but his head is down. His front legs can go all the way to like here, okay, because of the way that he is, and because he is naturally collected, quite frankly, he's well built. You can see how far his hind legs can go under his body, okay? Okay, so I know this is a long slide, lots of words, but this is the purpose of why do we need to ride these horses when they are engaged, right? So like collection, engagement. Some people say on the bit. On the bit is fine too, except a lot of people just think that being on the bit is to do this, and it isn't, okay? So the legs can reach more under the horse, okay? There's a longer stride, better movement. With the back more round, the spinous processes. Remember I said that the horse needs to flex the spinous processes, right? So they get together, but with the back round, they're going to actually extend the spinous processes. So they're going to be actually more separated from each other, okay? Which prevents, quite frankly, kissing spine. When you ride a horse not collected and the horse is just doing this, those spinous processes are touching each other, and that's how kissing spine, quite frankly, starts, right? With a stronger back, because now if everything is engaged, okay, your abdominal muscles, they also keep the back muscles more tight in the sense of like stronger. Okay, with a stronger back, you are actually protecting the stifle of the horse, you're protecting the pectorals of the horse, because things are now better distributed as opposed to the pectorals just getting the brunt of the ride. Okay, because if the back is like this, the pectorals are taking the brunt. If the back is like strong, it is like lifting the horse, and there is less brunt on the forehand of the horse. And also, if the horse is not doing, when the horse has like his hollow back like this, the stifles create a lot of pain also, right? So with stronger back, we have less back pain, less resentment, okay, less behavioral issues, okay? So some horses don't want to see the riders because they have pain, quite frankly. They just want to run away, okay, from riders. Hind legs become more active, the hips become lower. They can actually bring the entire hind end of the horse under themselves, which is what I just mentioned here. Also takes the weight off the forehand, relieving the structures at the base of the neck, and also protects the pectoral sling. And this, I'm going to say now how to achieve, right? So this is like the role of proprioception. So do you guys know what proprioception is? What is proprioception? Know where our bodies in space, but it's not just that, okay? So we do have proprioception by knowing where we are in space, but also there is another thing that proprioception achieves. It is the following. When you have something tickling you, what do? You move. Like when a fly lands on you, you move, because you're like, I don't like this. It's proprioception. It's like knowing there's a fly on top of you, okay? So how do we achieve this? It's by stimulating the abdominal muscles. How do we stimulate the abdominal muscles? It's actually by riding using your legs. Okay, you use your legs, you use your heels. Some people wear spurs. I wear spurs. Why do I wear spurs? I wear spurs to tickle the horse. Not necessarily, not the gigantic rouse, but it's to like, quite frankly, it's lazy, okay? Because if I'm not wearing spurs, and I have to do the whole thing, it takes more strength of my leg than with the spurs. The spurs are just a way to get there more quickly, okay? But that's the role of proprioception, is that we will tickle or stimulate the abdomen of the horse so they can contract the abdomen. And then when they contract, they round their backs, and you're like, that's, there you go, you're good. Now, it works well specifically when horses are, one, have good mind on themselves. They start off without having pain, okay? And also they are well built, right? So horses with very long backs, hard to stay without their backs hurting. Horses with like shorter backs, like horses with good conformation, easier to do this, okay? Because they're already built to do that. And that's the beauty of conformation, right? Of why we want nicely built horses with good structure. Okay, so leg position. So where do we want? So depending on what we want to do with the horse, where do we put our legs? So if you think about, like, you're sitting on the horse and you have your leg right under you, you are going to be able to create. So the suspension, right, created by lifting your back is going to relieve, right, the pressure and all the things of the pectoral sling, and also just protects the horse, right? And then the horse is not going to, the forelegs of the horse doesn't weigh as well. Now, caveat about this photo here. I'm not saying that I mean, obviously that's a high quality horse. I'm not saying that he is sitting in the most perfect way, but I just want to show you what a collected horse looks like at the canter. Why? Because you can see how good quality, and you can see how he is actually putting his heel on the horse, and you can see how this hind leg is coming all the way to the front, how this horse is so up, okay? So he's actually up, okay? And lifting his forelegs to go to the next stride. And that's the beauty of it, because we lift the forelegs to go as opposed to just going on a flat line, right? And this is how the abdomen being taut can actually bring the leg all the way down. Now, this is obviously a high quality horse, right? We can all say this, but this doesn't necessarily, it's not, no, every horse doesn't need to look like this to be able, look at this chunk, okay? And hit, same thing, same thing. Now, we're working with the body that he has. And even this trunk can be collected, and he very much is collected. You can see how his back is very round, it's not hollow, how far, even though it has short legs, he has short legs and by big boned, okay? But how he's trying to like tuck his belly in, trying very hard. It takes a lot. And then how far, his hind legs are actually reaching. Same with this guy here. Now this guy here is at the walk, right? So you don't have to just do this at the trot and at the canter, but like keep your horse in a quality movement all the time to prevent him from having, pain and and like kissing spine kind of issues, right? And pain. And that's one of the things too, like when these horses are well ridden, or they start off being well built and then they are well ridden throughout their lives, they stay sound for the rest of their lives, okay? But you can see, like, it can be any tack. It doesn't have to be just, dressage. And you can see, but this again is a quarter horse, so his head is already lowered. That's the way that they are built, right? Okay, now if we put our leg position a little bit too far forward, okay, so now we're actually not stimulating the abdominal muscles under the belly to lift the back, okay? This is not, when we put our legs a little bit too far forward, like we're sitting on the horse, like we're sitting on a lazy boy, okay? Or we're sitting on at the end of a ride, we're like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired, and we're just like sitting like this. This doesn't protect the back of the horse. What this actually does, it will actually stimulate the muscles in the forehand of the horse, okay? So it activates the muscles related to the suspension of the forehand, then rather than stimulating the muscles that actually make the back more round, the head and the neck will not go down when we stimulate this area here. It's actually encouraging the leg and the head and neck to go up. But what do we create with this? We create a very extravagant four-limb stride, okay? And we see this in this, in saddle seat, right? In saddle seat, this is what they want, and you can see how the hind legs don't go under the horse, okay? But there is a lot of the forelegs, the four limbs of the horse is very much more. It's not reaching, okay? The leg can only reach if the neck and the head are like more like in a not so up like this, okay. But it's more extravagant, and that's one of the reasons why this is how these people, these riders, sit on their horses, right. Because of whatever it is that the breed was made to go to wars, and it's actually scarier if the horse is coming to you like this. So this makes sense for this particular breed, right. But you can see this, how I mean, their legs are really not under themselves at all, right? But also they're sitting on the lumbar area of the horse, which also causes a lot of pain on these horses as well. But legs here will stimulate just the front legs of the horse, creating this extravagant leg movement, right? When we have our legs a little bit too far, okay, and everybody has done this, okay, because sometimes when we get scared, if the horse, this is the first thing that we do, we actually move forward, the legs go back, and we brace, and this is generally what we do. But when we do this, as when we tilt forward, first of all, we put more, like 10 pounds more on the forelegs of the horse, right? I was actually going to bring 4 scales here to put like a saddle rack so you guys could sit on the saddle and do this, so you can see on the scales that would actually register how much more weight would be sometimes just by doing this, because our heads are very heavy. By doing this, you already put more strain on the forelegs of the horse, okay. By doing this, you also put a lot more strain on the forelegs of the horse. But so when we do this, we're going to stimulate muscles that are just here on the lumbar area and the hind leg muscle. So it's when we're sitting and we're doing this on purpose of moving the leg back, we're actually can do some lateral movements with the horse, or sometimes if you want the horse to move on the forehand by moving his haunches, we can do this. But this is a momentary thing. It's not to ride like this. But generally when this is happening, not intentional by doing this lateral movement that we're wanting the horse to do, the horse hollows his back because we stopped stimulating uh, um, the abdominal muscles, and the rider, obviously, when the rider is going like this, the rider is unbalanced and the horse is going to be on the forehand. And you can see here, right? And I don't know what this person is asking necessarily, but what I can see is that the back is very hollow, okay? Like you can see here, the horse is very tense. Obviously they're trying to like create some sort of like give. The canter doesn't reach all the way under, and you can see the belly of the horse is not tucked in whatsoever, right? And you can see how that goes. Okay, when we overbend, okay, when we overbend the neck of the horse, and we have all been there, okay, but it's one thing to, like, you're teaching the horse to accept the bit and to actually be to bend, right, to give to the bit is one thing, but to ride like this, right, you put a lot of undue strain on the base of the neck of the horse and the neck muscles, and then because you're putting so much strain on the base of the neck of the horse, they tense their lumbar, they tense those muscles, and that is hard to achieve a good ride if those muscles are tense, because guess what, those things are very strong, okay, a back muscle of a horse is obviously very strong, right. But in order to protect his back, he starts to tense everything, and what it's actually creating is not protecting his back, it's actually creating even more pain, because we all have been there, we all have been tense, and then the next day we can barely move because, like, because we're so tense, all the muscles are super super sore, right. But this prevents the horse from engaging, right. So we can see here this person is trying to ride, I mean, obviously this is just a drawing, but like overbending the neck, overbending the head of the horse, and trying to create a false collection. We will actually hollow this horse. This is so tense that it gets hollowed, okay? because the muscles are contracting because they're tense. And they then, so, and you will see the hind legs don't get far under the belly, and also the neck of the horse. So you can see like this, overbent, right? Overbent, not overbent, like trying to bend is not, I mean, it is semi on the vertical, but you can see how it seems like two separate horses. One is right here and the other one is right here. But you can see how the horse is hollow, so hollow on the back, very bent, very strained. So this horse is not collected. This horse doesn't have his belly tucked in, very hollow, and nice tail though, but very hollow in the back. Very nice tail. This is a long-backed horse, okay? So this is a horse that's hard anyway to achieve collection. But this is a non-collection, okay? Um, Now I'm going to talk about a different set of muscles, and then hopefully in your head you're putting all of this together, okay? A different set of muscles, and this is probably one of the most important muscles, okay? So the horse is to learn to engage, to, to contract his abdomen, but then to strengthen the long muscles of the back. But this group of muscles here, probably one of the most important. They're called the psoas and the iliopsoas muscles. Have you guys heard of these muscles before, okay? So what do? These muscles actually sit under the spine of the horse. They sit under the spine. So they brace the spine from underneath, okay? The lumbar spine and the last few thoracic vertebrae. And also they go inside the pelvis of the horse and they attach to the femur of the horse as well. But the function of this muscle is that for all this movement that we're talking about, for it to happen, the pelvis needs to lower. There's a hinge between here, the sacrum and the lumbar spine. There's a hinge, okay? And when the pelvis lowers, it does this, right? So it does this right here. Lowers, so the legs can go under here and can impulse the horse forward. And to lower the pelvis, is the responsibility of these two muscles, okay, the psoas and the iliopsoas. The problem is the following: they're deep muscles, so we cannot reach them to massage. We cannot reach them to do really anything. So, what is the problem? If those muscles are sore, that's not good because the horse is not going to lower his pelvis well. There is nothing that you can do to massage the horse. You can try to stretch them. There's exercise that you can do to stretch those muscles. But if the horse is tense, they start tensing and then tense these muscles, they will now lower their pelvis and now they're going to create pain here. When they have pain here, they'll try to protect this by hollowing their backs. Okay, so it is never good. But that's the importance of warming up exercises and cool down exercises. Okay, like some people just like think that the first so many minutes of the ride you can just like be like this because we're just warming up. Okay, we can't. Okay, because like you're warming up so the muscles can actually work properly. And some people just think, oh, it's just to warm up. So it's just warming up is great. It's like so the horse doesn't spook at the wind, so the horse can see what's going on. You are, trying to see the state of mind of the horse, blah blah blah. But if you're not, so if you're just riding like a bag of potatoes on top of the horse, you're not warming up the right way. It's not just getting his heart rate up. It is actually getting circulation through these muscles in a way that they can work properly, right? So so that's one of the importances, and I make my son do this even though he left, even though he rides Western. Is he there? Oh, he's leaving. Is to post. Okay, so when your horse start trotting, how about we post at the trot? Now, like a lot of English riders do it anyway because it's harder. Some big movement horses, it's hard to sit at the trot. But quarter horse, very easy to sit on the trot. But just post so we can actually relieve and like give space for these muscles to actually warm up, as opposed to brunt of your butt hitting the back of the horse. Not good. Okay. But that's one of the things that we need to be cognizant. Okay, so the warming up is so important because of this. Okay, so there are some when these muscles get tense, and they don't have a chance to like work properly, this just becomes chronic, and then the horse just becomes worse and worse and worse and worse, and it's a horse that has like that chronic back pain, a horse that hollows his back all the time, and the horse becomes I mean, have you guys seen horses that are like what we call like girthy, right? So like what a lot of people think that girthy horse is like gastric ulcers, okay? And I guess it can be, but the stomach is very far from the from where the girth goes, okay? The stomach of the horse is far from where the girth goes, but the pectoral muscles are exactly where the girth goes, okay? And if they have been blunted, okay, with like being on the forehand, the pectorals. Remember what did I say the function of the pectorals are? To cushion. Okay, so every stride, it's cushioning the stride. And if the horse is in the forehand and you're like this, and the horse is more and more in the forehand, it's just taking the brunt, taking the brunt, taking the brunt. And now when you put the girth on, they turn to bite you. Why? Because it hurts. Okay, so that is another. When the horse's back is hurting, they use their front, side a little front end more bad, and they now the pectorals hurt, everything hurts, and now they become resentful. And now you put a saddle that doesn't fit well, and it impinges their back, and now you're gonna learn how to to be a horse today, and he's like turning to bite you. You like punch him in the face. I mean, right? Why? Instead of trying to figure out why the horse is turning to bite, because he's in pain. Okay, let's not punch them in the face when they're turning to bite, as you're girthing them. Now if it turns to bite viciously when you're just passing by, that's vicious, that's not acceptable. But when you're girthing, guess whose fault it is? It is not his. Okay, it is not his fault at that point. But there are some exercises to do to unlock these muscles here. Okay, so there are like some carrot stretches. And these carrot stretches are really good even to just strengthen the back of the horse. So have you guys heard of like, okay? So one of them, there's several, but the one that you put the treat under, right, the horse, and you can do like, so here's the horse, right? So head, and you go here under the horse, like under, like on his belly, and some people put like close to the chest, some people like close to the knee. The idea is that the horse goes all the way. Now you're forcing him to lift his back, you're forcing him to actually stretch the whole back muscles, okay, the entire. So that's one of them. So doing this, another one, you get the treat, okay, and you bring like you need to treat, to train the horse to do this, and you're not touching the horse, he needs to do this by himself, and you bring the tree to like his hock, okay, or to like his fetlock, and he has to like turn his entire head, and they're not gonna reach. Obviously, my horse, I have a horse, he's dead now, but he would lift his hind leg because he wanted to do it so perfectly that he would do that to be able. Otherwise, it's like if I bring my leg closer to you, maybe the treat comes closer. And I'm like, no, this is not how we do this. You have to come here, right? He was so funny. So that's another one. And when you do this at home today, I want you guys to see their backs, how their backs actually contract super strong, and that actually, when you're not gonna be riding, say, "Oh, I'm too lazy to ride today." That's fine. Do the carrot stretches because it actually contracts the back and keeps their back strong. There's research that shows that even just doing these will actually strengthen the back of the horse and their stomachs. Okay, not the stomach, the abdominal muscles. Okay. Um, and then you can grab their hind legs and you can like wiggle it. You can YouTube it, and you will see that there is like exercise that you can release the psoas muscle, so you can all everything can work together for the benefit of you and the benefit of the horse. Okay, so what do we learn today? We learned so many things, but keeping these horses strong and riding correct with good, well-fitting equipment, with a rider that is aware of where your body is, and the way that you sit on the horse and where your legs are, what you are actually stimulating on the horse. Okay, so you can actually start learning how to stimulate your horse in a way that he can collect himself. And also, I mean, this is November 1st, I think, today. And this, I dread this month because the no stirrup November kills me, because now we have ill taught riders jarring on the backs of this horse so they can develop some balance. I'm just like, just go jar on a, I don't know, a yoga, like, how do you call it, Pilates ball. Go learn balance away from the horse, because removing the stirrups. Now, not everybody's like this. Some people are fantastic. Okay, they're independent, which is what we say, independent seat, right? Independent seat means that you are moving, you're helping the horse, but you are not jarring on the back of this horse. And I have a photo here. It's my former farrier. So if you ride like him, you can do no stirrup. Okay, so no saddle, nothing. There is no stirrup. This is a meter 60 and just a lead rope on the mouth of the horse. Okay, so if you ride like this, by no means do the no stirrup November. If you don't ride like this, keep your stirrup. Why? Because actually, one of the exercises, if you want to create better balance, like maybe up your stirrup 1 or 2 holes and try to stand on the horse as the horse walks, because now you're not even on his back. His back is free to do whatever, but you're standing on your stirrups. And let me tell you, your legs will be so strong, because it's very hard to ride standing, when, especially if the stirrups are a little bit shorter. Why? Because you're going to have to balance yourself so well. And that actually helps his back, because you're off his back. Okay? So that is important. And then this is just because, again, kissing spine, right? Is one of the causes. Ill or bad riding actually can lead to kissing spine, because this is how far the vertebrae, the spinous processes of the vertebrae need to be from each other. And then when these things, when the horse is hollowing his back, this is what the spinous processes are looking like, and they start touching. And if anybody here has some sort of like osteoarthritis, you know, bone on bone hurts like a son of a gun. And now you put a saddle on this horse and you sit on him again, making it touch even more. It just, and then horses become resentful. And then this is my son, okay? And now I'm gonna show some photos, so we can like judge some people. And they're riding. Okay, this is my son. So this is a quarter horse. He's 23 years old. He is very well put together. Okay, very well put together. This is a strong animal, very strong animal. And you will see, I'm going to show you guys a series of photos. He is so strong, but the way that he's built, his hind end already goes under him, and it takes very little to actually. But look at this. Look at this, the engagement of like he lowers his hind end even more and brings his foot under, okay, and his spur is just like a round thing. It's long because he collects himself so much that's hard to reach his belly, okay, to actually stimulate it. But you can see, look at this, so strong and just reaching so under him, especially for a quad. This is a very long. Look how down his pelvis goes, because he has zero pain. This horse is 23 years old. And every time I have like, one of the, I use like several chiropractors here, they're veterinarians. And every time I said, let's adjust Booker, he never needs an adjustment because he has no pain. Why does he have any pain? Because he's a strong horse. He's strong and he is well put together. And obviously the child weighs like, 90 pounds, so it doesn't really matter. But anyway, but this is him when he is not collected. So this is normal, right? When he is being stimulated to do something, he collects himself. And this is him without like his belly. You can see his belly is not in traction. He's just sitting there. He's a strong animal, but he's just sitting there. But upon movement, he just brings his body under. This used to be a mare of mine also. But look at this thing here. What can we say about this photo? Hollow. Look at her legs. Okay, this leg should be way more under, but this is okay, very hollow, forced, right? Forced bend. This. What do we see? What do we think about this? Slightly better, but not wonderful. Very tense, right? Very tense. It's not. He's not giving. He's fighting. You can see this is actually a tense muscle right there. How about this? This is actually not the best quality animal that there exists. It looks to be like a thoroughbred. but is fine. He's fine, right? He's like doing fine. It's like the person is probably trying to turn him, but he looks happier. Okay, he doesn't seem to have any resentment whatsoever, and he's reaching way under him, and his back is not hollow whatsoever. Okay, and I guess they have like a bunch of stuff under, which is fine. If you need these half pads under the horse to prevent back pain, do it. Okay, that's help these horses, right? Look at this. Okay, but again, this is a good horse that is trying, and even though under here, if I didn't show anything, you would think that this was a good movement. Okay, but I guess the movement is fine, but the back is very hollow. It's not, and it's a horse that you can see is tense, is looking down. Okay, and I guess you can't necessarily see is looking down, is not super, and again, okay, not super happy, but he's trying, right? He's trying to perform, right? How about this guy? He's at the walk. Look at what a quality walk. What a quality, very up. Look at this, very round back, but look at the head also and neck, very relaxed, okay? Not bracing, and but a quality walk right there, okay? How about this guy? Terrible, right? Because like I mean, so hollow. You can see how it's choppy. Okay, choppy. He's trying his hard to pretend with his front end, but like it's so choppy. Because horses will try to do things for us. Okay, which again I don't understand. How about this guy? Looking good, huh? Looking good. Very good. Like I mean, uh, nice horse. Very nice horse. How about this guy? What? What do we say? This is not looking pretty, huh? So you see, this is the canter, right? This is the canter, and you can see very hollow, not happy. Okay, he's trying, but like the leg doesn't reach under him. This is the same horse. How, even though he seems a little unhappy too, but what can we say about this one? One, he gained 150 pounds, right? So a horse that's weak because he's underweight, quite frankly, he cannot, the muscles can only do so much. They need to gain weight, right? So number one, gaining weight is already made this horse better, but you can see how much better. He's more uphill, okay? Like, which uphill, meaning that he's like, lifting his forelegs more naturally and reaching underneath him a little more, right? Hold on, let's go back. And you can see how his back is not hollow anymore, right? So, and this happens why? Because he gained weight, he became stronger. The person, after like a year of riding a horse, like you learn how to ride better. Like, and that's why I think it's important that we take lessons so somebody on the ground can say, do this, do that. Put your leg a little bit more here because here's the problem. The more we ride doing wrong things, the worse we become. Okay, because now it just becomes muscle memory. We become repetitive, and we just become. So we need somebody, a coach, to tell us, do this, do that. You're bracing, you're doing it, relaxer. I mean, all the things, right? That we need people to say. How about this guy? Very no. I mean, it's not the best looking horse. But who it's who God made him. We're not going to you know penalize him. But I mean, he's okay. And this is the other thing too. We all need to start somewhere. We don't all start perfect, okay? And also, there are kids that are riding horses, and these kids may not be riding super well, and these horses put up with a lot of stuff, and those horses are worth their weight in gold. And we all need to start somewhere, but we can't just say you're good the way you are. You aren't. Okay, you need to improve. You need to improve and do better by the horse, by the horse himself. Okay, by as long as by like do better by the horse. How about this guy? Pretty good, huh? Pretty good. And again, we can see like those horses that have so much quality and they are all beautiful and stuff. This is not, in my opinion, a good looking horse. Okay, but good, but like muscular, carrying the rider, very honest animal that is just a good horse. Okay. And like I said, you don't have to be, we're not talking about, no, I don't know. Maybe we're going to have Olympians here. But the truth is, even our cheap horses can actually be fine and be stronger and actually carry us better. This is the Pessoa system. I don't know if you guys have seen this. So it's a system that helps horses build their backs. It's really good if you know how to, and this is working on proprioception, okay, because this guy here under their legs actually stimulate the horse to actually bring his pelvis under and to move his legs forward, because this is, just in a way, just moving the legs of the horse forward. And the way that you attach the things, if the horse gives, the entire system also gives, right? And then this is my dog. So do we have any questions, guys? No questions? Jen?